This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. We've got a lot of news to report on, but we won't know the details of the biggest story of the day until later tonight. That's because the National Labor Relations Board will count the votes at the Mercedes-Benz plant in Alabama to see if workers there decided to join the union. Everyone in the industry is wondering if the UAW can score another victory after it won at VW's plant in Chattanooga. So, what do you think will happen? And we'll be sure to report the full results on Monday. Say, did you know that the United States is importing oil from China? But it's not crude oil, it's cooking oil. And it's got American farmers really mad. That's because biofuel companies that make biodiesel from soybean oil and green jet fuel are turning to cheaper Chinese cooking oil instead. Farmers and agriculture groups are calling for tariffs, but the biofuel industry says there's a shortage of low-carbon feedstocks and it needs that cooking oil right now. One of the arguments against electric cars is that nobody wants them, but according to a survey by Cox Automotive, nearly 80% of Americans who buy new cars say they want an EV. But the only thing is, they don't want one right now. They say they won't be ready to buy one in another 3 to 5 years. That means EV sales could really take off at the end of the decade. Two key things from that Cox Automotive survey. Most car buyers aren't very aware of the incentives that are available to buy EVs, so automakers should really hammer home in their advertising the incentives that are available. The other tidbit is that people are far more likely to be interested in buying an EV if they already know someone who owns one. While the numbers are still small, used EV sales are rising in the U.S. Last year, used EVs only accounted for 1% of all used vehicles sold, but Carvana says used EVs accounted for 4.3% of its sales in the first quarter of this year. And while the gap is still big, the difference between used EV and ICE average vehicle prices is narrowing. In the first quarter of 2023, the gap was $13,000, but in Q1 of this year, it dropped to $7,000. Toyota has been forced to idle production in Mexico several times this year due to worker shortages at suppliers. Reuters reports the automaker shut down production at its plant in Tijuana for a total of 19 days in February and March because it can't get the parts that it needs. That plant builds the Tacoma, which accounted for about 10% of Toyota's sales in the U.S. last year and is its third best seller in its lineup. Suppliers in Mexico are facing high employee turnover because workers are frequently changing jobs for better paying ones. As a result, production of parts is being impacted due to declining worker skills. Toyota says it's working with its suppliers to help with the challenges and to see what kind of support that they need. Don't expect to buy a self-driving Renault anytime soon. The company says it's developing Level 2 and 2 Plus, which will provide some hands-free driving in certain areas, but it thinks going to Level 3 will make vehicles cost so much that people won't want to buy them, and it claims complete autonomy is quote-unquote unlikely. However, Renault feels completely different about autonomous public transportation and is going to kick off a Level 4 self-driving shuttle at the French Open tennis tournament on Monday. It's partnering with WeRide for the trial, and the shuttles feature several rows of seating and display screens, but no onboard safety driver. They are, on the other hand, supervised remotely. Renault sees a market for these electric and autonomous minibuses in Europe. Just in terms of the need for self-driving public transportation, it estimates there's demand for several thousand minibuses a year for the next few years, plus more cities in Europe are implementing low-emission zones where gas-burning vehicles have limited access. And sticking with Renault, it also revealed details about a new sportier plug-in hybrid version of the Rafale, which is a brand new SUV that it debuted last year. Called the Rafale E-Tech 4x4 300 HP, I think you can pretty easily guess how much horsepower it has. The setup combines a turbocharged 1.2-liter three-cylinder engine with two electric motors, one on the front axle and the other on the rear. Compared to the standard plug-in Rafale, which has 200 horsepower, the 4x4 300 HP will do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour over 2 seconds faster at 6.4 seconds. It also features a 22 kilowatt-hour battery pack that provides up to 100 kilometers or 62 miles of all-electric range on the WLTP test cycle. No word on pricing, but sales kick off in autumn. Speaking of PHEVs, VW is launching the new plug-in hybrid versions of the Golf in Europe, and kind of like Renault, it has a standard and sporty version. Both feature a turbocharged 1.5-liter engine and an electric motor that drive the front wheels. But the standard e-hybrid makes about 200 horsepower, while the Golf GTE makes roughly 270. At 19.7 kilowatt hours, the battery is about double the size of the previous version and provides up to 143 kilometers or 88 miles of range. Orders for both models are open now in Europe. The e-hybrid starts at a little over 44,000 euros, and the GTE tacks on another 2,500 euros. And while I'm talking about pricing, Opel's newest electrified SUV, the Frontera, will start at 24,000 euros in Germany, including taxes. That's for the mild hybrid version with 48-volt technology. But the Frontera shares a platform with the Citroën C3, and like that model, it also comes as a pure battery electric, and that version starts at 29,000 euros. And now it's time to get off electrification for the moment and let piston heads rejoice. There's a brand new 8-cylinder engine hitting the market, but in this case, it's in a motorcycle. Great Wall Motor is coming out with a touring bike called the Su-O, which means soul. It has a 2-liter flat 8 boxer engine, a shaft drive, a cast frame, and dual wishbone front suspension. The first 8-cylinder motorcycle came from a company called Curtis all the way back in 1906, and it only had about 30 or 40 horsepower. But who would have ever guessed that Great Wall, which is known for making off-road SUVs, would make a V8 motorcycle? Tesla is shifting its strategy to collect data in China for its full self-driving system. Reuters reports that the company is planning to power the global development of FSD with data from China that would be processed in the country. To help achieve that, Tesla is working on plans to open a data center to train algorithms needed for self-driving cars. But Tesla will have to work with a local Chinese partner to open the data center. Up until now, Tesla was focused on getting approval from Chinese regulators to transfer data created by its vehicles out of the country for its FSD system. But that brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for making Autoline a part of your day, and I hope that you have a great weekend.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering boost your game. Tejan Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility. And by ZF.
Keeping your heart racing in and out of the gym. That's what really matters. Bridgestone Potenza Sport AS tires with a 50,000-mile limited warranty.
Intrepid's NeoVi Pi, allowing automotive engineers to interface, capture, and monitor vehicle data using Raspberry Pi. As a matter of fact, it's the automotive industry's first robust platform for Raspberry Pi, featuring Intrepid CAN-FD technology and Raspberry Pi Compute Module. The NeoVi Pi is designed for automotive environments, allowing use with relative power ranges and applications. In addition, the NeoVi Pi enables you to use the Raspberry Pi for compute while avoiding additional development to adapt to network environments. That makes the NeoVi Pi powerful enough to solve your vehicle network problems, yet small enough to fit in your backpack. One of many Intrepid tools used for developing zonal architecture and software-defined vehicles.
there's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey, lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Teijin Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.
Wards is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.